Are you ready for some questions here on the show?
Well, first, I want to send a special happy birthday to fantastic Bobby Fulton, who celebrated his 60th birthday this past weekend. He went to a park with a few close friends and family and observed social distancing, and he said he feels better than he has in 9 months since all this ordeal started, and his next project is to start eating solid food again, which I'm sure, as you can imagine, he's looking forward to. But I want to say happy birthday to Bobby. Did I tell you the story? I tried to do this a couple weeks on the show, or a couple weeks ago on the show. I was going to tell the story about Bobby Fulton and the pussy hitting the ring in the Sportatorium. Did I tell that story?
I don't remember that story. What's the story?
See, everybody knows there was a lot of rats in the Sportatorium, right? Of all kinds. Not only the rats that we wanted, but the rats we didn't. The four-legged kind. In the Dallas Sportatorium, I know the TV show made it look so good because it was filled with people, right? But we've talked about this before. When it was not filled with people, it was the Sportatorium. It was a dump. It was a big tin building. Originally, it had been built in the 30s, and it seated, God, like 8,000 or 9,000 people. And then in 1953, I believe, the opposition promoters, they believe, set fire to it. It was a case of arson. I don't know if they ever proved that it was the opposition that did it, but it burned half the Sportatorium, which is why when they rebuilt it later that year and opened it up again, they called it the $1 Million Sportatorium because they'd done all those renovations. They just put a wall down one side of it. So it was like a hexagonal building on one side, the arena, and the other side just had this corrugated tin wall down it. That was the part that burned that they never built back. And if you're watching on the World Class Wrestling show from the hard camera, to the left, you would see that corrugated iron wall, right? To the left of the ring, and that's where the heels would go out after a hot match. The security, instead of taking us back up the hill, up the way we came to the locker rooms, would take us just out that 20 feet from the ring. There you were out in the parking lot, out that side door. We'd go out the side door so we didn't have to fight the people on the way uphill, and then they'd take us back up through the parking lot and go in the office entrance. That would keep the fans from being able to jump us. Of course, in fucking February, after you'd been sweating in that building under those TV lights, and then you go out there at about 30-degree temperature, it also frees icicles on your fucking dick, too. But nevertheless. So anyway, the building was so old, and renovations were not done on a regular basis. And because of the part of it was just in a big empty field at that point with that gravel parking lot all around it, just minutes from downtown Dallas, it got rats. And I don't know where they lived. There were so many bowels in that building and so many places, and the offices that were like Fritz's main office and where he worked was up on a second floor, and there was a crow's nest where you could go up backstairs and you could watch the matches without the people seeing you, up from this cage apparatus that they had up there they called the crow's nest. And anyway, every once in a while, the rats would come out and make themselves known, especially when the people weren't there, when the TV lights were on and the crowd was in the building and everybody was making noise. They stayed wherever they lived. But when the building was empty, they would come out and run around. And Ken Mantell's office, he was the booker, and Bronco Lubitsch's desk was right in the corner where you came in from the parking lot. And there were holes in the paneling, the wood paneling in those offices in the back, where every once in a while you'd look up and you'd see a face peeking out at you. And I've told the story of when one of the rats jumped out of the ceiling fan and landed on my shoulder in the locker room. Holy shit. And then later on, I tell one of the radio DJs, Doyle King from Q102, he's a friend of mine. I told him, I said, yeah, a rat just jumped on me. He said, I saw it. It was as big as a house cat. I said, no, this was just a little rat. He said, no, the one I saw crawling across the top of the heating ducts was as big as a house cat. And what David Manning, the referee, and I don't know if Bronco Lubitsch ever got in on this, Ken Mantell did, they would sometimes bring 22 pistols. Because, see, the offices were there. That somebody was working there most every day of the week that related to the office, even if nobody was in the actual Sportatorium arena itself. So they'd go out in the arena, and they'd take those 22s, and they would be at the light switch, and they'd flip the light switch on, and when the lights hit, the rats would start running. They'd see if they could pick them off. And I've told the story that Paul Bearer told Percy Pringle when he worked there. That's when the health department came in and investigated the concession stand and actually had them drain the deep fryer, which had not been done at that point apparently in several years. And Percy always loved the French fries at Sportatorium. I've had a few of them myself. They drained that deep fryer, and they found all kinds of rat skeletons in the bottom where the rats were walking across the piping at the top of the, over the concession stand, and they'd slip and fall off into the deep fryer. So at one point, they decided what they do is because what is the mortal enemy of rats? I'm talking about the four-legged kind. The mortal enemy of four-legged rats is cats, right? So they figured they'd get a cat, and the cat would get the rats. So they fucking turned a couple of cats loose in the fucking Sportatorium and figured that would take care of the goddamn rat problem, the unwanted rat problem. So one night, Bobby Fulton is in the ring. He's got a single match going. I don't think it was on TV. Every 2 weeks they taped TV, and every 2 weeks it was just a house show. He grabs Brian Adidas in a headlock, and he takes him over, and he's cranking up on the headlock, and the people start popping, and he looked up, and one of those cats had jumped in the ring, had hit the ring, and just walked across the fucking ring. Pussies hit the ring! And he just walked across the ring and jumped out the other side, and they continued the match. They couldn't do any spots until the cat left. They didn't want to hurt the cat. But anyway, it was Bobby Fulton is the only person in wrestling that I've ever known of that had a match that was so stirring that he actually got the pussy to hit the ring.
Well, let's get some questions here on the show. Happy birthday, Bobby, by the way.